Hi, everybody, and welcome to episode 78 of Halfway Through the Heat, the world's most prominent, the world's most prolific, the world's most potent trans-Pacific wrestling podcast. It's also the only one, but still, we like it. Coming to you from the Eastern Time Zone in the United States of America, I'm Tom. Joining me from Greater Tokyo in Japan is Joe. Joe, how are you doing?
I am okay.
Well, good to hear. It's been a little snowy here. The weather's not so great, but we're soldiering on. We have a lot to talk about this week. We have a lot of news. We have a sad death in the wrestling family to report. We also have some crime news. We have a big retirement. We have a Hall of Fame announcement to talk about. We have a movie announcement to talk about. We're also going to talk a lot about what's coming up for WrestleMania based on what happened at Elimination Chamber and Raw. So there's a lot to get into. So why don't we jump off from the point we always start at, the shining ray of positivity in a cloud-shrouded world of negativity, and we'll say something positive about Raw. Joe, what was positive about Raw this week?
I can say that I thoroughly enjoyed the Festival of Friendship.
Yes.
It was good.
I loved the Festival of Friendship, and, you know, for all the complaints about WWE that people have, and we occasionally share those complaints, they like, everything about it was flawless. Like, even though, like, you knew what was going to happen at some, like, you knew that Owens was going to turn on Jericho, it still, like, sort of felt, like, emotionally wrenching. Because Jericho is so good at what he does, and he was so into his role as, like, the goofball, trying to be, you know, like, I got you a painting, I got you a sculpture, like, in that ridiculous outfit he had on, and he brought the magician, he's so committed to everything he does that it always comes across well. So, like, I actually felt myself, like, getting sad for him as the segment went on, thinking, like, oh, this is not going to end well for him.
Yeah, it was really good, but also what came to fruition was my prediction that Gilbert would return.
Yes, that's right. We saw the return of Dwayne Gilbert. The crowd loved it. Crowd was super into Gilbert. And just that moment when Jericho got the present from Owens and it's a new list, and, like, he goes, why is my name on this? It just, like, I immediately switched from being, like, funny to being very sad, and then, of course, he got beat down severely by Owens. Setting up, no doubt, a WrestleMania match between the two, because Jericho is taking some time off. He has a kayfabe injury, and, of course, you know that means he does not have a real injury. His cervix is hurt.
According to WWE's website, he is having cervical pain.
So, he's fine. But he's taking some time off, I think, to do Fozzy or a movie or something. And so we won't be seeing much of Jericho until right around WrestleMania. So this also probably means, as we've talked about, that Owens is going to drop the belt to Goldberg at Fastlane.
Yeah, man, let me go on by saying I swear to God if they don't sell prints of that Jericho Owens poster, they're missing out, because that thing is amazing.
Yeah, the was it Michelangelo?
Yeah, it's the Birth of Adam.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I would buy that print. That was so great.
So good.
I liked everything about it, and I like the way they actually got us to care about it. You know, one of my complaints about indie wrestling is that they spend so little time on building up a storyline. Like, that whole segment was almost all talking, and then there was mostly brawling at the end where Owens just beat down Jericho. There was, like, one actual, like, complicated spot where he powerbombed him on the apron. It wasn't a wrestling match per se, but it meant so much more because, like, you were invested in this. Like, you felt bad for this guy who really thought this was his friend, and you're like, Owens, you son of a bitch, how could you turn on your friend that way? And I mean, like, the reaction from people on Twitter was great. People were actually, like, agonized, and when Owens was walking to the back there was a fan who was like leaning over the barricade and just yelling "why" at him. Like that's exactly what you want in wrestling. You want people to get into it, and they did it perfectly. I mean, everything about that I loved. There was nothing about that segment that I disliked. And it was actually a solid Raw overall. That was the capstone, but there was good stuff throughout Raw. Like I liked the Akira Tozawa match.
Oh, that was good too. Yeah, Kira Tozawa, as we mentioned, one of the only cruiserweights actually getting over with the crowd.
Yeah, I was pretty happy to see the crowd like yelling with him when he's yelling, and kind of getting into Tozawa because he's a fun wrestler to watch, and I mean, the matches he's had so far have just been showcases. Like it's basically just been him beating dudes up, but like he does it very well. The tope suicida he did was so. I mean, that's how you do it. It's like it's an offensive move. It's not a flying hug. And he jumps through the ropes and like slams into Arya Daivari like a battering ram. That's what you do. It was great. I mean, so I like that part too. But there was a lot of good stuff. I this is maybe a little more controversial. I liked the Emelina thing.
The Emelina thing. We were talking about this before we started recording that like Emelina they hyped forever, and then she just came back to say that she was just going to be Emma.
Yeah, like she finally 16 weeks of vignettes, and she finally comes out, and then she goes, "I'm here to announce that the makeover is complete, and now I'm going to be the makeover to Emma will begin," or something like that. And like people hated it. People on Twitter were like, "This is the worst thing," but I loved it. To me, it was like avant-garde theater. It was like waiting for Godot. Like you're waiting and waiting and waiting for the debut of Emelina, and then she comes out and like there is no Emelina. There's only Emma. And I was like, this is great. This is like Samuel Beckett. But then you found Pro Wrestling Sheet. The word is that they weren't doing a tribute to Samuel Beckett. The reason they abandoned the Emelina character is apparently because Emma was not doing a good job backstage.
Yeah, apparently they did some tests with the Emelina thing with her, and she wasn't like really invested in the character that much, and she wasn't doing it well enough for them to go forward with it. So they apparently decided that it was a no-go. So she's just back to being Emma.
Apparently their vision for the character was something like Sable or the Cat, which those of you who remember the Attitude Era will remember as kind of shitty characters from the Attitude Era. Like, to me, that's a real kind of a one step forward, two steps back thing. Like, why do we need that kind of character back in the WWE, especially when we've had, they've come a long, long way in the way they present women's wrestling. I think it was kind of what they had in mind for Eva Marie.
That could probably be true. Who knows, though?
There was a story in, well, I'm jumping ahead to news, but...
You're jumping ahead to some alarm there. That's what you're jumping to.
That's what I'm jumping to. I don't know what that was. Hope my house is okay. There was a story in TMZ that says Eva Marie is done with WWE. Like, she's taken it off her bio on Instagram and says she's doing movies now, but she's still under contract at WWE. She's not been on TV since August, when she had the wellness policy violation, which there was a 30-day suspension, so she was eligible, I guess, to come back to TV in September, but it hasn't happened. So it seems to me that regardless of her contract status, she's probably done with WWE, or they're done with her, or both.
Could be true. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people will be happy about that.
Yeah, I liked what they were doing with her by the end. Like, I liked the character they had come up with. Like, they weren't trying to make her a good wrestler, which was smart because she was never going to be a good wrestler. But I understand why people didn't like her. Nerds didn't like her.
She was not a good wrestler.
She was not a good wrestler.
That's not an arguable point. But she was fun.
Yeah, like when she kind of came out as like this sort of like vapid. Like, she had a really good brief feud with Asuka in NXT based on the fact that she couldn't wrestle and so was always trying to get Nia Jax to do her dirty work for her. And I thought that was fun. I mean, it was like it made you hate the character, which is what the whole point of being a heel. Um, but yeah. So otherwise, I thought it was a pretty solid Raw, and I think setting up for the Owens Jericho at Mania. But now let me ask you: does that mean if Goldberg indeed wins the title at Fastlane, does Brock Lesnar win the title at Mania?
I guess. I mean, it seems like they're not gonna. I mean, it would be really weird if they just had Brock Lesnar destroy him again.
Goldberg destroy
Oh
him
yeah,
again.
Goldberg destroy Brock Lesnar again.
It would be weird. Um, I can't imagine them doing that. Uh, I have to imagine. So, I mean, I guess it's not a bad decision to have Lesnar have the title, but they kind of don't know what to do with Lesnar at this point.
What if they do one of those things where they do that thing like Bret Hart did in WCW, where he's like has like a steel thing under his shirt or whatever, and then Goldberg would spear it and be knocked out.
That would be amazing. That would be amazing.
It's like wearing armor.
God almighty, I hate autoplay. I'm trying to find the story on Brock Lesnar because this is sort of segueing into news. This just happened today. Finally, something happens on our cycle. Brock Lesnar announced today that he is officially retiring from mixed martial arts and he's leaving the UFC. So that's big news. I mean, not totally unexpected, but something of a surprise. He won his last fight in UFC, as you know, and but then there was a drug testing issue, and he had a 1-year suspension, I believe, or something like that. And I mean, I don't think it really affects him one way or the other in the WWE. He's still a big attraction for them, still makes money for them, but this sort of means he's really full time. No, not full time, but like he doesn't have any distractions from the WWE. There's nothing else on his calendar. It's not like he's going to go make movies or something.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? In all honesty, I don't think Brock Lesnar cares at all, like about anything beyond like hunting and being far away from people.
You're right. Yeah, and making a ton of money.
Yeah, well, I mean, like he doesn't really. I mean, he probably has a ton of money already, so like he doesn't really need to do anymore. Um, he apparently lives on like a giant compound.
Yeah,
takes like 20 minutes to get to the house from the driveway.
and and let's face it, WWE is a much easier schedule for him than UFC because like he's not actually, I mean he's got to be athletic and perform, but it's different. Like he's not actually going out to fight. He's not getting into shoot fights in WWE.
Unless he is.
Unless he's going to have a shoot fight with Goldberg. God, that would be awesome. Speaking of retirements.
Yeah, I wonder. I wonder what they're gonna do with Goldberg after this. Like, I don't know why he's been so popular, but
Right, because they didn't have a long-term plan for Goldberg. Remember, he was just coming back because of all the excitement over the video game. He was just coming back for Survivor Series, and then there was so much excitement. It was so popular with people who are nostalgic for the '90s for some reason that they kept it going. And so it still doesn't have a long-term contract, but I don't know if they feel like they can keep making money with Goldberg. I don't think there's any reason for them to stop using him on shows. They just have to figure out what they're going to do with him because he can't. He's like Lesnar in the sense that he's not going to work a part-time or a full-time schedule, and I don't think he'd be very valuable to them as a full-timer. But what do okay, so what do you do with Goldberg? I mean, in some ways
know.
it's their Lesnar dilemma, right? Like they kind of don't know what to do with Brock Lesnar. Like except put him in a feud with like that feud is taking place in isolation from the rest of WWE. It might as well
Essentially,
be
yeah.
happening in another universe.
I mean, it's not like it affects anything, and like, there's no story with those two related to other people. It's just those two.
Right. Yeah, it's weird. I mean, it might as well be happening in a different company. Like it doesn't There's no reason. I mean, it's so isolated; it has no implications for anyone else, which makes sense. But I mean, sooner or later it's going to come to an end. You can't just keep doing that. I guess we'll know more after Mania. After sweet, sweet WrestleMania. Well, speaking of retirements, Rosa Mendes announced a retirement from WWE. In related news, Rosa Mendes was still in WWE.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, Rosa Mendes hasn't wrestled since what, like 2015, maybe
Maybe
2014.
Yeah.
Who knows? But the only thing she was doing was being on Total Divas.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and it was weird because she had no on-screen role apart from that. I mean, she hadn't
Well, I mean, what was she doing before? She was like a manager for the Primo and Epico.
I think so. Yeah. 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 Not a lot going on there. So I mean, good luck. She's pregnant. She's gonna have a kid. So mazel tov. But yeah, that was a surprise to me when I saw that she retired. I was thinking, I didn't realize she was still doing the whole WWE thing. Will wonders never cease. Well, maybe that frees up some money in the old budget to hire a woman who's going to wrestle.
That'll be good. Somebody who can wrestle. How about that?
Yeah, let's try that. Let's try that. Some of that Revolution stuff. So we also have some crime news from the WWE. Ready for this?
Crime news. This is the crime sheet for WWE. This time nobody was stabbed though, so
nobody was stabbed, but Heath Slater and the Ascension apparently ride together. So that was a revelation for me. They're buddies. They ride together to shows and stuff. Their rental car was broken into on Monday in Oakland, going to a show. Somebody broke into their car and stole their stuff. Heath Slater tweeted about it, and the Ascension said their backpacks were stolen and sarcastically referred to the thief as a real champion of humanity. So I mean, somebody just smashed the back window of their rental car and took their stuff. And welcome to Oakland is what Heath Slater tweeted, perhaps unfairly.
That's not unfairly. That's probably a pretty good good summation of Oakland.
You and I have friends in Oakland.
Yeah, I know, and they probably did it.
So, along with the AJ Styles robbery from a couple weeks ago, it's like a property crime spree affecting WWE superstars. It's too bad. But as you said, nobody got stabbed. So we have WWE legend, wrestling legend, really not just a WWE legend, Road Warrior Animal.
Road Warrior Animal, saying stupid stuff.
It's from our friends at Pro Wrestling Sheet. I don't know about what you were doing Sunday. I was watching Elimination Chamber. Road Warrior Animal was watching the Grammys, and he didn't like what he saw. So he wrote a rant on Facebook that included sentiments like, quote, having people of color, Muslim and Mexican come on stage. Are you that stupid and cannot see that where all the drugs are coming from the southern borders or all the radical Islamic that promote death to America? So not making a lot of sense.
That doesn't make a lot of sense, no. It's not the sentence structure of a well-educated person.
He should have stuck to, oh, what a rush.
He should have said, get these weasel-faced geeks off the stage. But I believe Hawk was the person who always said that, so probably not.
So after this tirade, I don't know what he was talking about. I didn't see the Grammys. Were there radical Islamists at the Grammys?
Someone came out and said Allahu Akbar and blew someone up.
That's right. Yeah. ISIS won a Grammy. Can you believe that? The gang in ISIS, they won a Grammy.
I want to know why Road Warrior Animal was watching the Grammys anyway. It doesn't seem like the target audience for the Grammys.
Anyway, he followed it up with an apology on Facebook, and he said, but he deleted it. He said, anyway, before he deleted it, he said, I should always do spell check on the manner in which I send my messages, and I don't. For that, I am sorry I was stupid. What I wrote by no means reflects how I actually feel. I am not a racist or a bigot or think things happen in certain parts of the country and they don't happen anywhere else. So, actually, Road Warrior Animal, spell check wasn't the problem. No, the spelling was not the issue. It was you were complaining about people of color, Muslims and Mexicans being on stage, and drugs are coming from Mexico, and radical Islamic that promote. It's actually kind of hard to know what he meant because it was barely English.
Yeah, he should just apologize to his grade school English teacher.
Yeah. So, Road Warrior Animal letting down the side there. I'm glad nobody, whenever there's like a wrestling star in the news, like the mainstream media, people I know who don't know wrestling or like wrestling, they will always like send me links.
Of course.
So like when Hulk Hogan, when the N-word tape got out, I seriously got like 8 or 9 people from all areas, like people I'd worked with years ago, people I work with now, like cousins, all messaging me and being like, "What do you think about this?" Like I'm like Hulk Hogan and I are members of the same political party, and like like we're both in Congress together, and I got to be like, oh, "Okay, the views of Mr. Hogan do not represent those of the wrestling party."
Do the views of Mr. Hogan represent the views of the wrestling party? Because
they don't. Apparently, they represent Road Warrior Animals, maybe. But nobody noticed the Road Warrior thing, so I didn't have to hear about it from friends and family being like, "Is this one of those wrestlers you like?
Is this what you like, Tom?
You like this guy? Huh?" And actually, I recognize the greatness of the Road Warriors as a spectacle. Like, they're not that fun to watch or anything. Their matches are not great.
Yeah, they're never good wrestlers. It's not like they're great wrestlers. They're like just dudes who go and beat people up in the ring.
Yeah.
They're not exactly technical wrestlers.
No, I mean, I loved them when I was a kid because they were the kinds of wrestlers who really appeal to kids. But like, if you asked me if I had a choice between any Road Warriors match and any Rock and Roll Express match, I would not hesitate to pick a Rock and Roll Express match.
Oh yeah, no no hesitation there.
And anyway, Road Warrior Animal saying and doing dumb things, and then deleted the apology. Just leave the apology up. So here's moving on. I'm really intrigued by this, how this is going to work. Bill Simmons, who some of you may know as a former ESPN guy, he was the sports guy. He was the guy who started the 30 for 30 documentaries, and then he did the Grantland website, and then he fell out with ESPN, and now he has a website called The Ringer that nobody reads. And he had a show.
Nobody reads.
Nobody reads it. And he had a show on HBO, and now that show is canceled. But he's still sort of a name, and he's a big wrestling fan. There's been good wrestling content on Grantland and on The Ringer. Bill Simmons is now working with WWE and HBO Sports to produce a documentary about Andre the Giant. Bill Simmons will be the executive producer. The synopsis for the documentary says it will combine never-before-seen footage and revealing interviews for a comprehensive and intimate portrait of one of WWE's most beloved yet largely unknown figures. So, I would be a lot more excited for this if WWE was not involved.
Yeah, that's probably true. Um, could be all right though. WWE could just
It
be
could be.
supplying footage.
You know, I mean, like it's probably probably can't do a documentary about Andre the Giant without the WWE's cooperation because they own probably all the footage that you'd want. Not just his WWF stuff, but like the stuff he did in the 70s. I mean, he wrestled all over, but WWE owns basically every tape library from North
Yeah.
American wrestling.
Yeah, I mean, you'd be left with just Japan matches.
Right, or like stuff he did in France before he came over.
If there's video of that.
If there's video, exactly. So, I like I just I don't know what you could do, but at the same time, WWE and like I don't necessarily fault them for this, but they are not in the business of promoting like an unbiased and informative look at history, right? Like WWE is they're about presenting their version of history, and that's fine. But Andre the Giant's a really interesting guy, and has a fantastic life story. But there's a lot of darkness in there too. Like he was not a happy guy all the time, and there was a lot of stuff in his life, like his relationship with his daughter, and just kind of his unhappiness and loneliness and depression and all this other stuff that I could just see all that stuff getting whitewashed, and it's just going to be this, thing about how, he was never pinned in 18 years, which is this ridiculous crap that WWE says, and just sort of presenting him as this kind of larger than life figure of fun. And that was part of him, obviously, but like there was a lot to this guy. If you read Box Brown's graphic novel biography of Andre the Giant, there's a lot of stuff in there about the other side of his life, and I think that would be essential for any real documentary if it's not just going to be like a WWE Network kind of special. So I'm optimistic because HBO Sports is involved, but I don't know how much like creative control WWE has on this.
I wonder. Yeah, I hope it turns out well, though. I mean, I hope it's not as you imagine it's going to be.
Right. I'm also intrigued they're doing it with HBO and Bill Simmons instead of ESPN because they've been partnering with ESPN on stuff. So I wonder if this is some kind of like change in how things are working. I don't know. But anyway, that'll be good. At least it'll be worth watching. It'll be interesting. That's all you can ask for. Sad news. Speaking of the darker side of life, Chavo Guerrero Sr., also known as Chavo Classic, brother of Eddie Guerrero, as well as Hector and Mondo Guerrero, son of Gory Guerrero, father of Chavo Guerrero Jr., has died at the age of 68 after a brief battle with liver cancer. Chavo Guerrero Jr. wrote, "Today the world lost a true rebel," writing of his father. He was diagnosed 1 month before dying.
Damn, that's he must have had some issues and just like never went to the doctor. Just been like, I've had stomach aches for weeks, months.
Right.
And finally like got to the doctor and he's like, dude, you got cancer.
Yeah. You got a month to live. He was known as I think a lot of WWE fans might have remembered him from that stint in the 2000s when he was like Chavo Jr.'s manager, but in the 70s in particular, he was a huge star in the territories out west, particularly in California, where he feuded endlessly with Roddy Piper in NWA Hollywood, which was one of the big NWA companies. And they would sell out the Olympic Auditorium in Los Angeles. Piper was this great heel. The Guerreros were the good guys, and those were, everyone who saw those matches still talks about them fondly, and sort of legendary episodes and making stars of those guys. Fans of indie music will also a couple of years ago perhaps remember the Mountain Goat song, "The Ballad of Chavo Guerrero," which was all about being a child and watching Chavo Guerrero in those 1970s NWA Hollywood shows against Piper. So yeah, I mean, I know this is going to sound like super grim, but when I saw that he died of liver cancer, I was like, oh, okay, because like, sometimes when you see a wrestler dying, 68 is not necessarily like a super young age, but it's also not. It's well below the average life expectancy in the United States. And when I saw that, I was like, oh man, I hope it's not drugs or CTE or something. It's almost weird when a wrestler dies of something like cancer, right? That's like a normal cause of death.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I guess that's it's not really like an upside, but
No, right.
at least it's not something obviously wrestling related.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's super. I know it's like not a pleasant thought, but it is what it is. Anyway, rest easy, Chavo Guerrero Sr. In happier news, Teddy Long was announced this week as the latest inductee into the WWE Hall of Fame in the class of 2017. He's joining Kurt Angle and the Rock and Roll Express. And I got to be honest, it's good for Teddy Long. I like Teddy Long, but when I saw Teddy Long was named was inducted in the Hall of Fame, my first thought was like, all right, fine.
Yeah, that's Teddy Long. Why?
Like, I was excited for Angle and the Rock and Roll Express.
Is Ron Simmons in the Hall of Fame?
Oh, that's a good question. Let's find out. I think he is.
Is Doom in the Hall of Fame? I'm going to say no on that one.
I think I'm pretty sure he's in the Hall of Fame. I'm going to check. He'd be a good guy to induct Teddy Long.
Yeah. WWE Hall of Fame. Who's in there? Let's see. Ron. Oh yeah, Ron Simmons, 2012.
Okay. Yeah. He was inducted by JBL, which makes sense. So, I mean, fine, but like, I just feel like, Teddy Long is kind of like, all right. I feel like every year they try to have. I want to be careful how they'll always have one woman. In recent years, the pattern has been one woman, like one sort of classic era person, someone who is not white. And like, I think they're very conscious of their public image. Like, they want to make sure that they're not getting accused of just putting a bunch of white dudes in the WWE Hall of Fame, which is good, which is fine. But I mean, Teddy Long. And part of this too is like getting someone who's alive and who people will know and who might show up, who's going to show up to the ceremony and sign autographs and do all that kind of stuff. So, I mean, good for Teddy Long. But, I don't. If you had said a week ago, can you come up with a list of like the 20 greatest managers of all time? I'm not sure many people would have put Teddy on there.
Yeah, that's kind of true. I was thinking, like, if they're gonna put in Teddy Long, why didn't they put in people he managed? Like,
Right.
I was like, where's Butch Reed in there? But then I realized, Butch Reed is part of that concussion lawsuit. He's never getting in.
He's never getting in there. Yeah, that's the thing you got to think about too. Like, that's part of the calculation here is who is currently not feuding with Vince.
Let's see. I'm looking at the list of people Teddy Long has wrestled. Let's see if there's any people on this list that you think should be in the Hall of Fame more than Teddy Long. D'Lo Brown?
No.
No. Johnny B. Bad?
No.
That's Mark Marrow.
That is Mark Marrow.
Rodney Mack? No.
Nope.
Norman the Lunatic?
No.
Mark Callis? Huh?
Yeah, mean Mark Callis. That's the Undertaker to you and I.
That's the Undertaker. He'll be in there eventually.
He will be in there.
One Man Gang.
Yes, I think the One Man Gang should be in there if he's not already. I
I
don't think
think
he
the
is.
One Man Gang is part of some type of lawsuit, though.
Oh, all right.
I'm gonna click on his Wikipedia page, and I'm gonna see if One Man Gang is part of some kind of thing. But while it's loading, we'll continue with the list. Mark Henry.
No. I mean, no. Although I think Mark Henry is actually a stronger case than Teddy Long, if we're being honest.
Yeah. I mean, okay, I see it now. One Man Gang is part of the same lawsuit that Butch Reed is part of.
Yeah, One Man Gang is not going to be in the Hall of Fame.
Jazz. Jazz is in the Hall of Fame, isn't she? I don't.
Yes.
Eddie Guerrero. Yes.
I think he's in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah. Joey Maggs.
No, I don't think Joey Mack should be in the Hall of Fame.
Craig Pittman.
Craig Pittman. No.
Jim Powers.
No, I don't. I don't think Jim Powers.
You don't think Jim Powers? Come on. Oh, can't believe you're counting out Jim Powers. Chris Jericho.
I mean, yeah, definitely. Obviously, he will be in at some point.
Yeah. Bobby Walker.
I confess I don't know who that is.
Neither do I. Ice Train.
No.
Rosie.
No.
No, come
No.
on. Don't even. You don't even have to guess there. Rosie is not going in the Hall of Fame. Mark Jindrak.
No. Sadly.
Ezekiel Jackson, definitely not going in.
Big Eck. No.
The Great Khali.
Yes, 100%.
Shut up.
One of the great champions of our time.
Okay. And he's wrestled tag teams. So we've got some tag teams and some factions that had been managed by Teddy Long. First, we've got Doom.
Yeah, I think of Teddy Long as a tag team manager.
Yeah. I don't know why, because I'm looking at these tag teams and I see like the only tag team that I even recognize as like a legitimate tag team, besides, well, I guess Doom, is the Skyscrapers.
Yeah, okay.
Do you think they put the Skyscrapers in? I doubt it.
I doubt it.
But Doom is. I would suggest they put in Doom, but again, that's Butch Reed also, so it's never going in.
Right, but I agree that Doom would not be a bad choice.
Skyscrapers, I couldn't see them putting the Skyscrapers. It's too unknown, I guess. But I mean, it's Sid Vicious and The Undertaker and Dan Spivey.
Yeah, although I mean probably not, because like the Undertaker's going to go in as an individual.
Oh yeah. Oh, okay. This is the team that should totally go in. Marcus Bagwell and Too Cold Scorpio.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yes. Yes.
Buff Bagwell and Too Cold Scorpio. They were the champions, weren't they? Shit. In WCW.
Now you're talking. Too Cold Scorpio is really good. He's an underrated.
That's true. He was in ECW too for a while.
He was. Yeah. He was a high flyer, which is, when you think about his body type, is really surprising.
Yeah, Too Cold Scorpio, really underrated. I'll definitely go with that. Thuggin' and Buggin' Enterprises. That included D'Lo Brown, Rodney Mack, Rosie, Jazz, Mark Jindrak, Christopher Nowinski, and Mark Henry.
Wow. Wow.
That's that was when I wasn't watching WWE.
Yeah.
That sounds like an awful time. Yeah. And then there's Team Teddy and Team Teddy 2. Do you want to know who was on Team Teddy and Team Teddy 2?
Who was on Team Teddy and Team Teddy 2?
Okay, Team Teddy consisted of Santino Marella, Kofi Kingston, R-Truth, Zack Ryder, The Great Khali, Booker T, and Hornswoggle.
That's not... that's odd, but it's not terrible.
Half of that team is terrible. Team Teddy 2 was Sheamus, Jack Swagger, Mark Henry, The Usos, Los Matadores, and El Torito.
That's my kind of team.
That's all the teams and singles wrestlers that Teddy Long has wrestled. I'm not wrestled, managed. Um, so okay, so I guess like considering this list, he should be in the Hall of Fame more than half of it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's not like a terrible choice. I mean, again, this is a it's a make believe Hall of Fame, obviously, but it's not like an outrage or anything. But it's just one of those things where it's like, all right, okay, I mean, fine.
Okay, so I'm looking up who Craig Pittman is. He was the Sergeant Craig Pittman, who was the um feuded with Cobra in WCW, if you remember that.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Um, yeah, that was part of the um, terrible 1995 period of WCW.
What times they were.
I remember that. Chris Jericho, he's a definite in. So is the Undertaker. Jeez. Still hold out hope for Johnny B. Bad though.
Johnny be bad. It's hard to part of it too is like it's hard for me to imagine like I don't think of Jericho as a Teddy Long guy, you know?
Yeah, I don't either.
But good for Teddy Long. Congratulations, Teddy Long, on your induction in the WWE Hall of Fame. Our last bit of news is we've talked about this before, streaming service Powerbomb TV, it's powerbomb.tv has launched. It is ready to go for the low price of $10 a month or $100 a year. That's a savings of $20. You can get a bunch of indie promotions. It doesn't look as if they are doing live stuff yet.
I'm looking at this list and I'm thinking like, is someone gonna pay $10 a month for this?
Yeah, let's talk about they have shows up from the following. Old Wrestling, that's OLDE Wrestling, and that's like a promotion. There's a lot of top indie people in it, but they all pretend to be like 1890s wrestlers.
It's good stuff.
It's good stuff. Georgia Premier Wrestling, Deep Southern Championship Wrestling, Tier 1, which is a New York company. I've seen their stuff. Top Rope Promotions, which is based out of southeastern Massachusetts. Riot Lucha Libre. IWA Italy. Forefront Wrestling, which is a UK promotion. C4 Wrestling, Future is Now. And Southern Fried Championship Wrestling. So, not right now a huge amount of well-known promotions.
Yeah, this seems like the kind of thing like someone would pay $10 for 1 month for, and then like never look at it again.
Right.
It's the kind of thing where like it doesn't feel like it's enough content that's like quality content to warrant like a subscription. Like, I mean, out of all of these things, like, would it be worth it to pay $10 per month for this over something like $10 a month for, say, High Spots
Right.
or like Flow Slam?
Yeah, Flow Slam where you're getting first of all live shows, but also, Evolve and so forth. And then High Spots where you're getting, Pro Wrestling Guerrilla and CZW and Premier Wrestling Experience, a bunch of really good promotions. I agree. This would not be my first choice if I was going to pick an indie wrestling promotion streaming service. I like what they're I mean, I like the idea of seems like it's the way to go, right? Like the streaming multiple promotions instead of just trying to do one. But I don't know, you got to line up some big names to get people interested. I'm intrigued, and I've been saving money. So I have $10 a month I can throw around. I was thinking about subscribing to Beyond Demand, which is Beyond Wrestling's on-demand service. But maybe I'll give Powerbomb TV a try, and I could report back.
You can there's a 10-day free trial you can sign up for.
Yes, there's a 10-day free trial, and after that it's $10 a month.
So
$400.
you should sign up for a 10-day free trial and check out what it's like, and then not pay $10. How about that?
And see if I'm really into um
Southern Fried Championship Wrestling.
yeah, because I mean some of the stuff like uh I know for example that Tier 1 is good stuff. Um and they have a lot of Top Rope as a lot of like guys that you see in the Northeast who are very good. So I mean that's intriguing to me, but I don't know, some of the stuff it reminds me a little bit of the stuff we watch on the Indie Wrestling channel on Roku, which is
Yeah,
free.
which is free. Yeah.
Um, so I mean, I want everyone to succeed in wrestling, and I feel like I should at least give it a shot since I subscribe to a lot of wrestling services as it is. But I don't know. They're gonna have to do a little bit. I think they're gonna have to get at least like one really well-known promotion on board, or one hot up-and-coming promotion on board, or they're gonna quickly run into some trouble.
That's true. Unless they have like a really low overhead for some reason.
Right. Yeah. Who knows what the arrangements are in terms of what they're paying and all that. But anyway, Powerbomb TV. If you're curious, check it out, and you can see the choices before you, and maybe you'll want to see some crazy out there wrestling. You know?
It's possible. There are people who like that kind of thing.
Yeah. People like crazy, outlandish wrestling. So that's it for news. Wanted to talk about Elimination Chamber, which happened this past Sunday, and particularly I'm interested in the WrestleMania implications of Elimination Chamber.
Okay. We did do predictions for Elimination Chamber, and some of my predictions were eerily correct.
Yes, you booked the main event basically.
Did I book the main event exactly? Because that sounds exactly what I said. Because man, didn't I say that they were gonna set up Bray Wyatt versus first I said that Randy Orton would win, and then it would be the Bray Wyatt versus Randy Orton at WrestleMania because he would be the champion. Sure enough, both of those things happened.
Both of those things happened. Bray Wyatt won the Elimination Chamber match. A big surprise. Well, maybe not. Not to you, but to a lot of people. People were shocked. Bray Wyatt winning his first ever singles title in WWE, and Big Match John was eliminated before the end of the match. It was AJ Styles and Bray Wyatt were the last two. I liked the match. I thought the Elimination Chamber match was really good. I thought the ending was also fantastic. So what we're looking at now, because Randy Orton won the Royal Rumble, and remember, after the Royal Rumble, when people were like, we don't want to see Randy Orton and John Cena, you and I said that's not what they're going to give us. They're not going to give us Randy Orton and John Cena. They're going to do something to change that up. And sure enough, they did. We're going to get, it looks like right now, we're going to get Randy Orton and Bray Wyatt. That's interesting because, of course, they have the story going where Randy Orton joined the Wyatt family, and they cast out Luke Harper because he was jealous. Orton and Harper had a pretty good match at Elimination Chamber, and it was Randy and Bray against the world, and now it's Randy against Bray.
There we go. You've got the setup exactly as I predicted it.
So what do you think is going to happen at WrestleMania?
I don't know. I hope they let Bray Wyatt keep the title. That's what I hope.
I do too. I think he'd be really interesting as a long-ish term champion. he's not someone we've seen do that before. He's not. I mean, we don't know what he'd be like as a champion. He could do a lot of fun, unexpected things as champion. Whereas Randy Orton is a known commodity.
Yeah, a known boring commodity.
And it would, it would really help make Bray Wyatt if he were to beat Randy Orton at WrestleMania. Can you imagine that if Bray Wyatt's first big WrestleMania moment is beating Randy Orton and retaining the title? That would be awesome.
They're just gonna do a finger poke of doom.
I mean, they could. I guess they could. I like the way they're building up this match, though. People are finally like the momentum killing anti-push they did for Bray for so long has ended, and now they've strapped a rocket to him, and people are responding. He never really people never really turned on Bray Wyatt. It's just they weren't giving people a lot of reasons to cheer.
Yeah, I think that's true. I don't think people were just like, well, Bray Wyatt is done, like they are for Dolph Ziggler. But now they've given Bray Wyatt a chance. Like they can. I hope they see that. Like, yeah, he is viable as a champion. People are excited for Bray Wyatt. People like Bray Wyatt. I like Bray Wyatt.
I like Bray Wyatt.
I've always been a believer.
I think what they'll do in the meantime is have some kind of simmering Luke Harper Bray Wyatt feud before we get to WrestleMania. That would make sense. Harper is still mad about being cast out of the family, and I think that would be a lot of fun. Luke Harper Bray Wyatt feud. I don't think there's a SmackDown pay-per-view before WrestleMania.
I was just gonna ask that, but I don't think there is actually.
I think it's Fastlane, and then we're off to WrestleMania. So that was one of the big implications. The other one that stood out for me, people were talking about, Naomi winning the SmackDown Women's Championship. This was genuinely a surprise for me. Naomi beat Alexa Bliss, and Naomi goes into WrestleMania as the champ. I don't think we were expecting that.
We were not expecting that. Definitely, that was unexpected. We basically got all the women's matches wrong.
Good for us. Did we really?
We absolutely did. We did not predict Becky Lynch would defeat Mickie James.
No, we didn't.
We did not.
I'm not sure that made a lot of sense.
I guess we couldn't have predicted a double count out for Nikki Bella and Natalya. But we didn't get that right. And we did not predict Naomi beating Alexa Bliss. So we were dead wrong on all the women's matches. But on all the men's matches, I think we were correct. Kalisto and Apollo Crews defeated Dolph Ziggler. It was a 2-on-1 handicap match. I don't think anybody expected a different result. And we did predict that American Alpha would win the tag team turmoil match.
Yeah, not a hard prediction. I want to say I still don't think the crowd cares about the tag teams in SmackDown, and I don't think that the SmackDown has given them much of a reason to care about the tag teams.
That's
true.
True.
People were most excited for Rhino and Heath Slater, and when they got eliminated, the crowd just kind of stopped caring about the match.
But also the problem with them is that it's got the same kind of feel as the Cruiserweight division on Raw does. It's like an afterthought.
Yeah, a lot of it's just a succession of guys doing stuff.
Yeah, basically. And most of those teams nobody cares about. Even though American Alpha are a great team, they haven't really given them a story or anything. The only team out of all of these teams that had a story was Heath Slater and Rhino, which makes sense that people would be excited for them.
Yeah, I agree, and I think it's an odd couple team, and it worked really well together. I was also super happy to see how over Rhino still is with the crowd. When he got tagged in, when he first got tagged in, people went berserk and were chanting ECW. Like I love seeing that. I like that people are still have those memories. Um,
Everyone's yelling, "Gore, gore!"
yeah, they're all yeah. When he did it, the crowd went nuts. But yeah, like once those guys were out, people were like, eh. I mean, in their defense, it's hard to get excited about like the Ascension or the Vaudevillains.
Yeah, I mean, or Breezango.
Well, I like Breezango.
Yeah, I know, but like, it's not even if you like them or dislike them. It's just hard to get excited for them because they don't have a story.
No, it's true. Their stories that they're hot cops, which
Like
is
I'm not excited for American Alpha in this, but like, and I like them. I just think
yeah.
like they're not doing anything. So it's the kind of thing where you're just like, well, okay.
Also, a guy who's come along really well. I think he was in the main event. Just for some reason, American Alpha made me think of it. Is I find myself shockingly a fan of Baron Corbin. Something I never would have imagined before. He's really come along as like just like a big ornery dude who throws guys around. I like that.
Big Baron Corbin fan.
Yeah, like I honestly think if he's like if this was All Japan Wrestling in 1982, he'd be a Stan Hansen level cult figure. Just this big mean white guy just who doesn't like people and just like throws big clotheslines and picks guys up and drops them on their heads. I like it. I like Baron Corbin. Um,
I like his finisher.
yes,
It's cool looking
I like
at
his
least.
finisher. Um,
He should
but
do it
yeah,
on the
so
Big Show. End of days on the Big Show.
that would be awesome. So the
I
looks
I
like
I actually want to make a correction from last week about the Big Show. I saw some pictures that he posted, where he's like totally ripped. It's like,
yes, I've seen those.
it's bizarre.
He's like taunting Shaquille O'Neal.
Yeah, because last week they had said on not on SmackDown, on Raw, that Big Show was in the best shape of his life, and I thought like better
Yeah,
than when he
no.
was like thin in WCW. And now, like now that I see those pictures, I think maybe he is in the best shape of his life.
But to what purpose? Like, what are they doing with him?
Nothing, but like,
Nothing.
it doesn't. That's not the point, Tom. The point is that like he's like all crazy ripped now. Like he's looks ridiculously muscled out, like more so than he's ever been. So I guess like in terms of body shape, he's in the best shape of his life. Probably not in the shape in like cardio shape or like wrestling shape, but like in terms of like I guess he's below his lowest weight in even WCW now. He's apparently slimmed down a bunch, and he's also totally ripped. Like he's got a six pack. It's weird.
He's living proof that you can vape and be a healthy athlete.
Healthy vaping athlete.
He's a living illustration for the vaping lifestyle. So we've got Bray Wyatt versus Randy Orton right now set for WrestleMania, and then Naomi comes into her hometown of Orlando. I'm beginning to think that's maybe why they did that. Naomi comes into her hometown of Orlando with the title, and the SmackDown Women's title. I like Naomi. I think she's made a ton of progress as a wrestler, and I'm glad that it's not the sort of Raw scene where it's just like the title just goes back and forth between two people over and over and over. So I'm fine with that. But one thing that now so we've got to think about who else is in SmackDown and what they're going to have them do in WrestleMania. Now they're not going to be in the title picture. So big match, John feuding with the Miz, John and Nikki feuding with the Miz and Maurice. Is that what we're thinking?
That's what they've been saying. That's what the rumor is anyway.
I would love that, honestly. I like all four of those people, and I think Cena and the Miz would be great together. And John Cena does not need the belt. I don't know. But what is that? So what about AJ Styles?
It's a good question. What about AJ Styles?
Now the rumor, and this is terrifying to me, the rumor is that they're going to build toward AJ Styles versus Shane McMahon.
Oh, that would be kind of a waste of a match, but okay.
It would be a waste of a match. Like after that debacle with the Undertaker, nobody needs to see Shane McMahon in another wrestling match. Shane McMahon does not need to be in another wrestling match. If anyone can get a good match out of Shane McMahon, it is AJ Styles. But like, why go to the trouble to prove it?
Oh, yeah, I mean, okay. I guess maybe we'll get a good Shane McMahon match out of it. Possibly. It's possible.
Possible, if that's in fact what direction they're going in. Well, now, what about Dean Ambrose?
Who knows? Who cares? What is he going to do? What is Dean Ambrose going to do? He's going to be fighting Dolph Ziggler.
Oh, maybe. Maybe. I guess. Maybe. I don't know. That's an intriguing possibility. I honestly, like, I don't care about Dolph Ziggler, but I want to see him get his ass kicked now that he's a heel. He's not bad at being a heel. One of the secrets about wrestling is that it's easier to be a heel than it is to be. It's easier to get people to boo you than it is to get them to cheer you.
True. I don't know. I have no idea what's going to go on with that. I don't know what they're going to do with Dolph Ziggler, but they don't. It's not like he's doing anything. It's not like Dean Ambrose has a story. So, okay, put them together.
That could work. Yeah, yeah, I could see that. Because yeah, I mean, after the Elimination Chamber, with the title picture being kind of clear, what do we do about Cena? What do we do about AJ? What do we do about Ambrose? They got to find things for all those guys, because all those guys, they're going to have matches at WrestleMania. Like, they're,
pre-show Rumble.
Yeah, maybe Ambrose is stuck in like the 12-man ladder match they always do at WrestleMania, but Cena and Styles are going to have solo matches, and not really sure who they're going to be wrestling. I'd love to see them wrestle each other again, but we know that's not going to happen. My fear is that just somewhere in the back of Vince McMahon's mind is one of these guys is good for the Undertaker. I would honestly rather see
Undertaker.
Yeah, Cena Undertaker. Well, that was the plan for a while, but they scrapped it. I don't know why they scrapped it, but apparently they put the kibosh on that.
AJ Styles Undertaker.
Oh my God, I would much rather see AJ Styles and Shane McMahon than AJ Styles and the Undertaker.
Yeah, me too. Jeez.
Because Shane McMahon is he's not like a great wrestler, but he's mobile. Like, he can move around.
Yeah.
And he can get flung around. Whereas I'm sure that AJ versus the Undertaker would be the best Undertaker match in a while, but it wouldn't, like, you wouldn't come away being like, well, that was the match of the night. Because there's not much you can do with the Undertaker. He's a really big dude who's not flexible or mobile.
And he's really slow.
And he's old. I mean, and again, like, he's 50 years old or 51 years old, whatever he is. Like, it's not a bad thing that he can't move around the ring anymore. Like, that's natural. But they have to stop putting him in matches.
I just want to point out that Chavo Guerrero Sr. won the Cruiserweight title in his 50s. That's it. That's all I wanted to say.
Yeah, but, like, those luchadors are freaks. Like, Dr. Wagner Jr. is God knows how old he is, and he's still doing moonsaults and
Silver
like
King
that.
Also.
Yeah, Silver King. Like, those guys are, I don't know, they found the fountain of youth or something.
Well, what about a Terry Funk also can still
Terry
go,
Funk?
Though. Terry Funk can still wrestle and have it be believable though, and he's like 70.
It's true.
Undertaker though cannot.
No, but the Undertaker's a huge guy who's been putting a lot of like wear and tear on his joints for many years. Like, it's, he's like a basketball player size. Like, he's not going to be doing crazy matches anymore. That's fine, but just don't have him at WrestleMania. They already have the oldies attraction in Goldberg versus Lesnar. And I know they want to sell a bunch of tickets, so probably they'll have something for the Undertaker. I just dread it. But anyway, Elimination Chamber I thought was a solid pay-per-view. There were a few, spots I didn't love. But overall, it was an interesting setup. You completely picked the finish of the main event, and I think that makes sense. I'm much more excited to see Bray Wyatt versus Randy Orton at WrestleMania than I would be John Cena versus Randy Orton.
I mean, that would be all right.
It'd be all right, but we've seen it a million times before. Whereas Bray Wyatt and Randy Orton, they have a good story, and we haven't really seen them mix it up before. So I'm excited. The big question for me is, where does this leave Cena? Where does this leave AJ Styles?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I don't know what you do with that, but maybe there's something that could happen. Something good could happen. Uh, Man, I'd be happy with the Miz and Cena.
Yeah, I would too.
I don't know what's gonna happen after that though. Cena going back to doing some other stuff.
Yeah,
Not,
Cena's got other stuff on the calendar, so that might be what he does. Um, and that would be fine. The Miz can always find people to hassle, but if Cena is gonna if his next feud is with the Miz, then what does AJ do? Shane O'Mac.
I'd be interested to see what he's gonna do, but I guess we'll find out soon enough.
Yeah, and what do you think about switching gears slightly to Raw? What do you think about Roman Reigns and Braun Strongman? You think that's what they're setting up for Mania?
I don't know if it's for Mania. It may be though. I mean, that's probably not a bad. It's probably not a bad match though. Fine
No,
with
I'd
that.
love that.
Fine with that match. I think it'll probably be good.
They were teasing Reigns and Undertaker at the Royal Rumble, and boy, I do not want to see that.
Yeah, I don't want to see that either. I would have liked to seen um, Goldberg versus the Undertaker at WrestleMania.
Oh God.
See,
Oh.
the bonus to that is that it would get both of the old guy attractions out in one match instead of having two.
The three-way dance. Put Lesnar in there.
Yeah, see, they could
That
do
would be
that.
my. That's the bathroom match. That's the. It's like, all right, I don't need to see this. Go outside, get a breath of fresh air. Um. All right. Well, so that's the WrestleMania picture will be clearer in the weeks to come. We still have plenty of time before the showcase of the Immortals, but um, if indeed we're looking at Randy Orton, Bray Wyatt, John Cena versus The Miz, then I'm pretty happy with that.
Yeah, I mean, WrestleMania is like what 4 hour show, so there'll be more stuff on there too that we're not thinking about at the moment. Who? I mean, I assume we'll have Chris Jericho versus Kevin Owens.
Yeah, Jericho and Owens, Seth Rollins and Triple H. They're gonna figure out something for Samoa Joe.
Samoa Joe versus Sami Zayn. No, that's
Sami
Fastlane.
Zayn.
That's gonna be
No, that's right. That's
Fastlane.
Fastlane.
Um,
Um,
who knows?
who knows? But yeah, there's gonna be a lot, and I think maybe all the belts are defended.
Yeah, I'd assume all the belts will be defended, so we'll have Bayley and Charlotte.
Charlotte. And
Although I assume is Bayley versus Charlotte at Fastlane because I assume Charlotte will win the title back there.
that's right. Charlotte does not lose at pay-per-views. Well, that
That's-
was something I wanted to bring up. People were very angsty last night about the Raw women's title changing hands so often, and I don't really care.
It's not okay. Like if you're angsty about it, you're not understanding what the story they're trying to tell with Charlotte.
Right.
It's basically the Charlotte story right now. It's basically that she's a shit heel, and she is not as good as she thinks she is, but she can always come through on the pay-per-view. So
Right.
like if you've noticed, like she always loses the title on Raw, never on the pay-per-view. So like she'll lose it and then she'll have a match on the pay-per-view and get it back. So I can only assume that she'll get it back at Fastlane, and then what'll happen is they'll have the rematch, Charlotte versus Bayley at WrestleMania, and she'll actually lose at the pay-per-view, and that'll be the end. Bayley versus whoever comes next.
Yeah, that makes sense, and I'm fine with it. Like I think it's a story they're doing well. That you don't have to have a title forever to make the title mean something. Like the New Day had their title for 11 billion days, and by the end, it was actually sort of reducing them because all they were the title, and it was sort of reducing the title because it was like really no one can beat the New Day. I mean, after a while, you got to move the belt around, and if you move it around a lot, if it's like you said, if you're basing it around like your top person, in this case Charlotte, it makes sense to do things like that the way they're telling the story. Like I don't have a problem. People are man, wrestling fans, the ones who are like the smartest, quote unquote, can be the dumbest.
Yeah, I mean, that's the kind of thing that you should just realize what's going on. I mean, the story is obvious what they're doing. They've been setting it up forever, and they've been doing it over and over again to show you what it is. It's not like it's not as simple as a normal like she's bad and she's good. Let's have them fight. It's it's the thing that she is like the clutch hitter that can get it at the pay-per-view but can't hold on to it after that. That's the story. So if she doesn't lose it all the time, then it doesn't. You're not telling the story you want to tell.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I think some people were like, "Oh, this was dumb. It ruins Bailey's moment because it's not at a pay-per-view." Like, you got to understand that's not what they're doing right now, and who cares? Like, even like the concept of like one thing that people don't get is that in this new landscape, WrestleMania means a lot less than it used to.
Yeah,
It's a
true.
big show, but like it's one of many big shows, and like the concept of the pay per view means a lot less than it used to. They have two a month, and they're not even pay per views. um, they're just sort of like events that the weekly storylines build up to. So like, just calm down.
Yeah, but also like it doesn't really get rid of her big win in the sense that like the story is not Bailey's story right now. Like she's just a like she's the won the title, but she's a bit player in the Charlotte story, which will end at WrestleMania with Bailey's big moment, beating her at the pay per view.
Right.
That's the big moment. I don't know like why you guys are like freaking out about that kind of thing. It's the story will be that she actually does get the big win at WrestleMania.
Yeah, exactly. And like if Bailey had like won the title at Fastlane instead of Raw, more people see it on Raw than see it on Fastlane. There's 1.5 million network subscribers, and Raw gets like 3 point something million viewers. Like it's people are I don't understand people. Just enjoy the wrestling. Just enjoy the wrestling. Often it's good, sometimes it's terrible. But you know, just stick with it.
Hmm. Yeah. So is that all we got? Are we done?
We're done. We
All
do,
right.
there's no wrestling coming up this weekend.
There's
I
no.
mean,
I'm sure there's Southern Fried Championship Wrestling might have something, Tom. You
yeah,
haven't
somewhere
checked
in the
over there.
world, somewhere in the world there's wrestling this weekend, but there's no wrestling on Flow Slam, and there's no.
I'm still like fighting with myself to figure out if I'm gonna go to see that Noah show with the TNA people. It's next month. I'm like
Do it.
thinking about doing it, but like
Noah is hot as hell this year. This is Noah's year.
tickets are expensive. So I feel like, do I want to spend the money? Do I not want to spend the cheapest tickets are $40.
That's a lot of money.
And that's like the way as far back as you can get in the. But the upside is that it's in like a municipal gym, so like it's probably not the a gigantic building.
You're gonna get good seats wherever you are.
Yeah, it could be all right. So maybe it'll be fine if I just go and get cheapest tickets. Still $40 though,
It's a lot of money.
but I'll get to see all types of Noah and TNA action.
All types of Noah and TNA action. I mean, it's worth it. I'm still like, I gotta save money, but there's a bunch of stuff coming up in March that I'm intrigued by. Um, but nothing this weekend. This weekend is going to be wrestling event free, at least on Flow Slam and the WWE Network, which are my two main ways of watching live professional wrestling. So, um, this weekend. Maybe I'll catch. Maybe I'll watch a little bit of. I've been thinking about doing a thing for the blog where I watch bad wrestling and then report back on it. And I have a DVD of Juggalo Championship Wrestling.
All right, Juggalo Championship Wrestling.
And I have the complete run of XPW's seasons. I think they did like 2 8-episode seasons or something. So maybe I'll do that this weekend, or maybe I'll work on the stuff that for our micro press that I should be working on.
Well, that's either of those things.
Either of those things. Speaking of our micro press, as we're closing out the podcast, if you like what you hear, one neat thing to do is to go on the Amazon.com and search our names, or search 3 Moves of Doom, and that's a chapbook we put out. It's horror stories set in the world of professional wrestling. It's stories by Joe, by myself, and by acclaimed horror writer Matthew M. Bartlett. And if you like it, you can write a review.
That gets you our eternal thanks and entry into our gang.
You join our gang. You become a member of our gang for life. You can't get out of the gang, but you wouldn't want to. Why would you want to get out of the gang?
Yeah, this isn't the kind of jump in, jump out kind of gang. This is a lifetime thing, but it's got benefits. You get 1 free froyo a year.
That's right. 1 free froyo with your choice of topping. Pick something healthy, but you don't have to.
You don't have to. You don't have to pick kale or something. You can pick gummy bears. It's fine.
Yeah, that's fine. That's part of being in the gang.
Yeah.
Oh, and also we'll kill someone for you.
Oh yeah, that too.
We will kill someone, but the froyo every year. So think about that. And if that's not enough wrestling content for you, you can head on over to closetofanxiety.tumblr.com. That's a blog that's updated just about every day, except on the weekends, with wrestling content.
It's the best wrestling blog on the internet, hands down.
Pretty darn good. It's got I'm looking at now pictures of Akira Tozawa, pictures of Hikaru Shida, Chris Jericho, funny gifs of Emma Lena, creepy photos of little kids in Asuka masks. It's got good stuff. Oh, it also has during Elimination Chamber, just briefly, during Elimination Chamber, Glenn Gilberti, who was Disco Inferno in WCW, not only a wrestler but also one of the bookers, he was complaining that Naomi wasn't scantily clad enough, and he was going on and on about how like she should wear less clothes, and WWE doesn't understand what people want, and like it's stupid that the women aren't dressed all skanky. And he wrote, I think asexuality is a pretty common characteristic of wrestling fans today. and then, so the best part about this is that like Lance Storm, like just started savaging him on Twitter. Like if you go back and just look at it, like Lance Storm just like, and at first I was like, oh, are these guys just like kind of kidding around and stuff? And no, they're like, then they like. Disco like lamely tries to like, well, nobody wants to see Canadians wrestle either, and then like Lance Storm just like goes in on him, and finally he's like, the reason people stop watching WCW is because the booking that you and Russo did was terrible.
There was a thing actually. Recently, Jim Cornette had a thing on his podcast about talking about the worst booking thing he had ever heard from somebody in a booking meeting, and it was from Disco Inferno. and I can't even remember what it was, but like it was like some kind of idea that maybe it involved alien abductions or some shit. I don't remember, but like it was something that was so bad that it never happened apparently, but like it's the kind of thing that was so awful that Jim Cornette thought about it as the worst thing that anybody had ever pitched as a wrestling idea. He said when he was telling the booking team this in TNA that everybody was laughing because they thought he was joking.
No.
And then he was not joking. He was
not joking.
He was actually so
So yeah, if you go on Twitter, you can see Lance Storm carving up Disco Inferno over his dumb tweets. But also you can head on over to closetanxiety.com or hawkageandjoe.tumblr.com, or as we mentioned, Twitter. You can take yourself to Twitter. I am at TJ Breen. Joe is at xcornmuffinx. The best way to get in touch with Joe is to leave a comment on this here video. The best way to get in touch with me is probably by Twitter, because I'm usually on Twitter all the time, and I'm often live tweeting wrestling events. Live tweeted the old FIP Ascension show. I didn't review it because I fell asleep. That's how good it was. But you'll be glad to know the ring announcer for FIP was still swearing his head off.
Awesome.
He was still swearing his head off and was still talking shit about the Kenny Omega Okada match. It's like his gimmick now.
That match was like a month ago.
I know, yeah. The guy's got people have moved on. They're now talking about that Dragon Lee match or whatever the latest one is. But anyway, so if, that's the way to find more stuff from us, if you're so inclined. I think that's it. I think we're done.
We're done. So we'll catch you guys next time.
Thanks, everybody.